Happy Steam Controller launch, everybody. Well, it's been a few weeks since it came out, so if you're interested in it like I was, you've probably seen every video breaking down the specs or unboxing of this thing already. For that reason, I won't go into too much detail about the specs, but it does come in this nice cardboard box with this puck that you can connect to your PC, which acts as a receiver for the controller and a place for it to magnetically charge. I've been having a bit of a launch party with it since I've got it, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the games I've been playing with it. First up is Fight Night. This is a dungeon crawler with random encounters, but instead of turn-based combat, you punch everything you meet with your fists. In fact, it's not just enemies, it's also switches, doors, and even friendly NPCs, whom you're punching to communicate. It's one I backed on Kickstarter many years ago by now, but for some reason I haven't really gotten around to it until now. But it does have an art style that really draws you in. I'm still very early on in Fight Night, so right now it's all about dipping into the tower, exploring a little bit, and heading back to your starting area to heal up. I've already found some recipes which unlock special attacks, as well as an apothecary who can brew healing potions. So as expected, it is a dungeon brawler with a steady progression that allows you to explore deeper and punch more and more bizarre monsters. The Girl from Gunma Kai is a crazy-looking shooter heavily inspired by the developer's love for the MSX. It's a simple one-button game that you aren't really supposed to take too seriously, so no crazy scoring systems, grazing mechanics, or even super bombs. It's just dodge and shoot. There are various power-ups which can make you shoot everywhere for a few seconds after you pick them up, and then change into the same split shot. There are also hidden letters to find which will unlock a powerful support character who will help you for a little while. And if you want the game's true ending, you'll need to find all the letters and get through the game without losing a life. Simple and fun. By this part in the video, I'm starting to realize that I've not really been playing any games with the Steam controller which makes use of the touchpads, which is the whole reason why you want to get this thing. So let's take a look at Skorkdal. This is one of those deck-building run-based games, of which there are many, but I picked this one specifically because I like the vibe of it. Taking place in a fictional Norwegian town in the 90s, you and your friends are set out to discover why mysterious things have been happening in the sky above Skorkdal, and why everyone suddenly are angry and hostile for no reason. Control-wise, this is a game that they easily could have adapted for controller support, but didn't for some reason. So being a mouse and keyboard game, this is an excellent test case for the trackpads, and let me say that these things feel great to use. They have excellent haptics feedback when you move the cursor around, and a slow turn-based game like this is a great place to train yourself to use them. Simple game as well, you basically just click and drag the cards into the playfield, and with the default controls it's just the right trigger that mimics the left mouse button. The only other button you optionally can use in the game is the A button to end your turn. Using Steam Big Picture mode like this isn't something that's really new to me. I have a pretty low-end computer which I don't really like sitting in front of because I sit enough at an office chair at work. So for years I've been playing a handful of games from my couch using a long HDMI cable and an Xbox controller. But now I finally have access to play all the games that I have that demand mouse and keyboard from the comfort on the couch, and as such I wanted to dig into a bunch of ancient DOS games. One little snag with Steam Big Picture mode is that Steam Overlay is sensitive to resolution size. So a lot of old MS-DOS games run at such low resolutions that Steam Overlay doesn't actually want to display anything in a standard DOSBox wrapper. So for something like Harvester here, you'll want to use a fork of DOSBox that can push the game to the native display resolution in case you need to open the virtual keyboard and type in stuff as seen here. Luckily, Nightdive published this game with something called DOSBox Daum, and with a few tweaks to a config file, you can make it look nice. Only little hiccup I currently have is a ghost of Steam Overlay that seems to persist after you close the virtual keyboard, but it seems to go away with scene changes. Anyway, play Harvester. It's a very cool and brutal 90s point-and-click game. And if you're a fan of creepy Twin Peaks-style suburban horror, I think you'll enjoy it.
There isn't a woman in Harvest that turned me away. If I was interested, that is. Just because she owns DNAs, she's got all these highfalutin ideas about independence. And her with a little girl to raise. That child needs a father. And Edna, well, she needs a good hard penis.
What makes you so sure she needs a penis?
Moving on, let's give this controller the big test with Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 2 Retribution. With roughly 400 hours in this game, I'm pretty familiar with it and I know what kind of controls and keybinds I want to use. But this is a great time to take a look at community profiles. See, the Steam controller, as you might know, is an adaptation of the controls found on the Steam Deck. And as such, users have been building and sharing their own custom profiles for various games for years. This is a great place to start as it gives you a good baseline for what translation of the old keyboard and mouse might work out for you on the Steam controller. And you can pretty much do anything. For this game, someone has set it up so the left trackpad and the right joystick act as shortcuts to the various number keys, which will select your different units as well as the QWERTY on the keyboard, which selects the various abilities they can use. One of the 4 back buttons is also set to press X, which in this game will cause your units to retreat to the closest base, which is pretty essential as well. If you were a crazy person, you could even go and set hotkey commands tied to gyro or grip sense, but the question remains, could you actually play the game like this? With 400 hours in the game, I'm pretty used to using keyboard and mouse, but after forcing myself to adapt, I could see myself playing the game this way. The trickiest bit is that if you change anything in the Steam input settings, it obviously doesn't change anything in the game's UI that tells you which button does what. So if you're like me, you'll probably repeatedly be opening and closing the Steam overlay to check and recheck your buttons until it sticks.
You're too late. The Ascendant will be triumphant.
Good show, sir. Victory.
Oh, God.
Okay, here's one finite palette cleanser which I played, which just uses the standard controller input, and That is the demo of Jungle Rot, a promising Resident Evil knockoff set in the Vietnam War. The developers made a very cool choice of either letting you play the game with classic tank controls using the D-pad, or controlling the character, should we say, normally with the joystick. And this is not something you need to change in the settings or anything, it's just how the controls are. So I just wanted to mention it as I thought it was a very smart design decision. I didn't get all the way through the demo, but I was impressed with how much the developers were able to mimic a classic PlayStation game with the pre-rendered backgrounds, 3D models, and even the quality of the FMV cutscenes. It's very, very era-specific in the best way, so I think this is a game to keep an eye on. So that's the Steam controller. I like it a lot. Depending on who you are, you might not really need it, because as I said, I've made it do with an Xbox controller on the couch for years. And if you're someone sitting at the PC anyway, you might as well just use the keyboard and mouse, right in front of you. This is going to be the controller for a lot of weird French case users out there, like me, who want to play ancient point-and-click games like Harvester or Police Quest from my couch. Or it would be controller for people who are really into gyro, for instance, which I learned is a thing recently, since it gives you the option to set it up in any Steam game in any way you want. The Steam controller is essentially the accessibility controller that isn't an accessibility controller. I think that's the best way to put it. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a great day.